Good time of day to all of you, my friends, here on the Internet Chess Club. This is Grandmaster Yermolinsky. Apologize for small delay. Well, as usual, technical difficulties, yeah. Alright, today's talk, no doubt about it. Now, Magnus Carlsen just won Gashimov Memorial in Shamkir, Azerbaijan, for the fourth time. Out of the 4 tries, he skipped a couple of years, and then it was Mamedyanov. Every time Magnus plays there, he wins, and good time of day to all of you, my friends, here on the Internet Chess. Wins by some comfortable margin. This year in 2019, long-awaited, overwhelming performance from Carlsen, on par with his best tournament results, reflecting his advantage, his lead over the rest of the field. As you can see, he gained 15 rating points. It's quite a substantial gain, considering though he had a lofty rating to begin with. And so that put him up, 44 points ahead of Fabiano Caruana. Well, just recently, when they played that match, the margin between them was only 3 points. People were saying if Caruana wins one game, not only he becomes a world champion, he also takes away #1 spot. But just, how much time passed? 4 months? It's all distant memory. Well, Carlsen played exceptionally well in both tournaments he played this year. Vaikanzi and the Gashimov Memorial. 2 wins. Alright, but I think the certain seeds of his success now were planted even before the match with Caruana. They didn't quite bear fruit during the match. Obviously, the tension was there, and Fabiano was exceptionally well prepared in the opening. Well, maybe Magnus himself, he was a little tentative, particularly toward the end. I think he had we all remember that great position that he had, also with the black pieces, and in the knight d5, Sveshnikov. And he kind of missed a lot of opportunities. Well, could have been a win for him, but no, he keeps on playing this, and I think that was one of the things that helped Magnus to kind of get off that funk, that he was stuck, and it seemed like his chess was stagnating. All he needed, it turns out, was one sharp opening with black. And then things started working. 2015. Also 7 out of 9. It's been a long time, Magnus hasn't been winning. Well, he's been winning some tournaments, but not as convincingly as he did this time. And I think, there are some changes in the way he plays. Well, once again, there are, I can't really reveal the sources, but apparently, Anand believes that Magnus is not only having different results now, he's playing much better. Okay, well, coming from Anand, he played him in 2 matches, so probably of all players alive, Anand arguably knows Carlsen best. Says Carlsen is playing much better. Well, maybe that's the magic of the Sveshnikov, Magnus feels liberated, and he goes for it. Well, he started this tournament with a typical Magnus-like technical win over Anand in the endgame that wasn't Anand, really shouldn't have lost, and all that, and we go, here we go again. Then he was a recipient of a blunder the next game against David Navarro, although It was a tricky conversion, and Magnus showed once again excellent technique. But that we saw, and we thought, okay, well, Magnus gets his better endgames, and he'll probably convert, no, some percentage of them. But how's he gonna rack up, a larger score? No, the answer came later in the tournament. And it did not come through some endgame squeezes. No, different. We start with this game. Magnus had white against Anish Giri. It was round 7. Well, so that was after the rest day. And then actually after the rest day, Magnus did not have a greatest of games going against, I believe, Mamedyanov. Well, it was... Yeah, he didn't get much, but it was a draw. But... I don't know, I sensed that this Magnus was ready for a big push, and no, it came in this game. Alright. Okay, with white, Magnus hasn't found his openings because, no, it's black who chooses openings, right? No, but with white, I think Magnus can continue in this his typical style, just playing random stuff and trying to hit some weak spots in opponent's preparation, or just go by whatever, because no, still has the white pieces, so there will be something, right, to play for, unless he walks into a particular variation. Well, like this Mamedyanov game, it seemed like that Shakria really knew what to do, and his play was very much streamlined. And then there was no room for Carlsen. See, Carlsen needs, some kind of he needs a little bit of space, right? Well, after the opening ends. Well, with white pieces he would create the space. And not space in the sense that he would have control over a large chunk of a chessboard. More space in the sense that he's not bothered and he doesn't have to answer with forced moves to opponents, forcing replies. Then he'll probably come up with something. Oh, so that's why even c4 works, but I mean, with the white pieces, yeah, why not? So they did this. And d5. No, Giri, of course, is very solid. Speaking of Anish, he looked very good in YKNZ back in January. Did not look good at this tournament, honestly, it did not. Finished dead last. Lost a lot of rating points. Okay, I was under your question. E4, c5, knight e3, knight c6, knight c3. White trying various plans after e5. No, yeah, the idea is to avoid the Sveshnikov. Yeah, well, Magnus will probably play e5, but I mean, I don't know. I don't think that White should avoid the Sveshnikov. They just need to play it better. Well, we'll talk about this when we get to the Sveshnikov game. Green Death Ray from Mars. Oh, yeah. Okay, we'll talk about this. El Segal, let's just look at this game. Well, the next one is going to be Karyakin game. Then we'll get a chance to talk about it. So in this... Alright, bishop c5. So that was... I mean, Karyakin's line and Grishuk played it. No, it was breath of fresh air compared with the standard knight b6. You know why this doesn't work, right? There are all these things, they actually favor black because they get to take on f2, right? So that's the purpose of having the bishop on c5. And somehow these tactics, they don't work out so great for for a white. Actually, I'm not sure. Maybe I misplayed it. Maybe in this position there is knight takes b7. I'm not quite sure I did it right. Knight takes d8. Yeah, I know it doesn't quite work that way, but I think I made a mistake. In this position after knight c6, I think this is the killer shot, queen f6 on the f2 pawn. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, so anyway, the position of the bishop on c5 makes it impossible, but it's all yesterday's news. Everybody knows it now, the players who played. So it gets to this, and oh yeah, once again, well, it's just this combination, the standard shot and the dragon is ineffective. So Carlsen just played it quietly, a3. And now this whole thing, you know, well, I mean, it's typical Carlsen, right? So they got this. And Giri, no, Anish, I mean, I understand that he had been steadily improving, and he got his rating up to 2797, threatening to re-enter the 2800 club. So he must have been doing a lot of things right. But no, his luck significantly changed in this tournament. He lost quite a bit of rating points. Let me see. Giri. 17.7. That's a big setback, and now, I mean, once again, it's probably not just Giri, and I don't want to single out one player, but okay, tell me, if we're looking at this field, you know, like how many people can reverse their fortune and come back from a bad start in the tournament, completely, you know, turn their luck around. I mean, Topalov probably could in the past, but these days, you know, he plays so infrequently. I mean, I don't know. I mean, Carlsen himself, right? It seemed like Anish, no, when he played this game, he was already in, -2, bad tournament, but he didn't think that this game he should play for a win. So his game plan was regardless. It's like, I'm playing Magnus Carlsen with black, and no matter what, you know, like, I don't know, I would just, it would be great for me to make a draw. Yeah, I understand, well, rating points and all that, but I mean, this kind of attitude, don't you think that they see too much ground to Carlsen? Yeah, Karana played rook a8, here h6. To me, I don't know. It's all the same. Well, I don't know. This details how important they are. Well, Carlsen prepared. No, well, I understand. Well, Carlsen was probably not the biggest guy in terms of preparing. Well, I mean, he beats people pretty much without preparation, so it's not about that. I'm just thinking, don't you see too much ground by accepting the fact that, okay, well, this guy cannot be beat? I mean, in the past, you know, like when Carlsen was dominating in 2014 or 2015 maybe, no, there was one player, that was Fabiano Caruana, who always played him tough. Won a lot of games from Magnus. Lost more, but anyway, it's not about the actual that kind of score that you get. Would it be, I don't know, -1, -2? It's about how many times you can actually hurt Magnus. And no, right now, of course, Caruana will make a comeback, and we don't have to wait long. They'll be playing in Granca Classic, which starts couple of weeks from now. Yeah. Yeah, well, about this h6, as I said, yeah, I remember the move bishop g5. There were some things over there, and Magnus seemed to have gotten some advantage, but then Corana played energetically and neutralized this whole thing. I mean, white or black? No, well, in today's chess, I don't know. Well, yeah. But I mean, obviously, with white you could get a more comfortable position, but I think it's more like, how Carlsen feels about his game. I mean, I'm not sure, for example, that this is what this d5 line is what people need to play. Carlsen, generally speaking, likes some exchanges. He likes kind of simpler situations, simpler strategic concepts. He's not really that keen on getting an extremely complex position with all the pieces on the board and some kind of yet to be determined pawn structure, particularly when there could be danger to his king. If Magnus ever loses, that's exactly in those situations. To me, when I play this choice, I understand that Gary wants to make his draw and gain his 2 rating points or whatnot, but I mean, his tournament is already in the toilet, pardon me. He's -2. Well, I mean, you can redeem yourself. You can erase everything, if you... I know it's a long shot, but everything in chess is a long shot. What bothers me, well, what I can see, that this complacency. I mean, granted, Caruana is... should be excluded from all this. Well, Caruana, I think he will play Magnus stuff whenever they meet. But who else among the top players? I don't know. We can debate this. No, well, yeah, it's popular line d5, but I understand. Well, Magnus can play anything because it's like he's comfortable where he is. Now, if he's okay to make a draw with the black pieces, he will, and whatever. Like, I mean, he knows he's gonna win his games. It's the others that need to do something. They need to somehow rock Carlsen's boat. And no, I just don't see this happening for various reasons. Radjabov comes in, he plays so infrequently. He plays 9 draws. Gains rating points. Well, yeah. Grishuk, but no. I mean, we'll talk about the last round game. Anand, no, it's hard for him to play Carlsen. So anyway, going through all this, yeah, this is what we... Okay, let me start from the beginning. I messed it up. So anyway, well, everything that Anish did is fine. Trade there and... No, but... I think it was Carlsen who said usually when there are no knights, like it's very difficult to create something. But here, Carlsen said I was able to get something going. And I don't think that Giri anticipated that at all. I don't know what he was thinking, that Carlsen would take a draw. Why? He just got caught by Karyakin while they were... Karyakin beat Anand and both had +2. Clearly there was the kind of game that Magnus should not give away the white pieces. And what can white possibly do? Aside of the plan he did in the game. And the very next move, it just seems to me rather unforced. Why should the bishop leave this diagonal? Maybe black could have played it differently. But it's a safe move because you sidestep all things with d4 and various tactics. But Magnus goes queen h5. Now this probably states his intentions already quite well. that he will go forward. When you play Carlsen, I suppose that you always think about the positional squeeze first, and you kind of like, want to open things up a little bit and maybe use tactics, because you know how flawless, positional concepts of Magnus Carlsen are. It's very difficult to beat him in that game. So you're looking at this, that the pawn coming to f5, maybe in the hands of somebody else it wouldn't be such a big deal. Anticipated f4, he was surprised by queen h5 and f4. And the bishop move turned out to be counterproductive. Okay, maybe. But okay, what happened, happened. So, by the way, he didn't have to play c6, right? It's all one of those comfy moves, you want to get comfortable. I mean, there were other moves possible, I don't know. Okay, let's just suppose that he didn't want to play queen g5. I can't really tell after this trade, how bad is that? The pawn comes to g5, cannot be attacked. At least it will help you to deal with f4. I mean, why wasn't this move considered? But c6, c6, very comfortable play. And after this, he takes. Alright, so this is the thing, maybe Carlsen over a year ago. Indeed, you look at this and you think, okay, well, yeah, he's not gonna go super sharp, he's not gonna sacrifice anything. It's just Carlsen, right? He's strong, but we know how he plays, and that was the period when Carlsen could not win enough games to maintain his rating lead and win tournaments in this kind of fashion, like he won this one. But I think, these changes that happened in Magnus, that's what Anand mentioned, that Carlsen plays much better now. And Giri didn't quite catch on this. Although it's funny, right? I mean, he's playing a world champion, and he's playing a guy who has 2 points ahead on him in the tournament. Well, one would expect, to show a little bit more respect to Carlsen's ideas. But he didn't have to take, right? He didn't have to take. Alright, maybe you don't like f5, right? Yeah, I was talking about a d4 break, but d4 is not much of a break. But here, can't you play f5? No, prevent the white pawn from going to f5. I suppose white can play this, and maybe looking to play e4. But I don't know if it's very convincing. I mean, that's a plan for white. But f5 was certainly possible. So it takes, right? Hang on a second. I had some notes here. Oh, moment. Wrong game. Yeah, well, still f5, right? Rook e1, bishop d7, e4. Okay, this is to be respected, but no, it's not deadly yet. White isn't even threatening anything in particular. I don't think he's threatening anything yet. Capture on f5 you can take with the rook. Capture on e5, there always going to be some possibilities of that check. So black actually can play various moves here. But here, and then, no, right, so now queen takes c3. I mean, no, right, so let's make distinction between playing sharper, which is generally speaking a good idea against Magnus Carlsen. Old or new doesn't matter. And playing right into opponent's intentions. I mean, Anish could not possibly have thought that Carlsen blundered that pawn. He said something at the press conference that he didn't expect G4. He expected only E takes F4. But I mean, E takes F4 is... No, it's much less effective because white cannot use the G file for the attack, right? And he splits off his pawn, and F4 doesn't really make that much sense. But of course, G takes F4. And fairly quickly, Giri took. And after King H1, he went into a deep thing. I mean, is this how you play against the world champion? You take the pawn with check because he was blundered, and then you, figure it out? I mean, I understand that. Well, Anish, no, he kind of started great in his head-to-head with Carlsen. He won this game with black, the black side of the Grunfeld first encounter. That was already, God knows, such a long time ago. It was like 9 years ago. Anish was like, 16 years old? Or something like this. And then they played a whole bunch of draws. And there was a lot of bantering, a lot of talk on the social networks, Twitter, whatnot. And okay, maybe Anish thought, by doing this, he will kind of maybe get to Carlsen's goat, but I don't know, Carlsen's pretty thick-skinned. I don't think Carlsen is the kind of guy who would lose his sleep over something that written to him or about him on the internet. I don't think so. Or maybe just the idea of all this bantering and all this talk that I have a positive score and whatever. By the way, that positive score is long gone. I mean, before that, of course, Carlsen won a whole bunch of rapid and blitz games against Giri. But you can make a point, that, okay, well, we're talking classical here. That was the last resort, But now even the classical record, I mean, Carlsen won 3 games. This is the 3rd win. I mean, in some ways, all this kind of, what's Magnus, I have a good score against him. I think this would cause Giri to take the pawn so light-heartedly. And, in reality, this queen takes c3 is, I don't know if it's a losing move, but it's a very dangerous move to play. Oh, it was 15 minutes for queen takes c3. Sorry about that. No, king h7, yeah, but... Okay, yeah, you can play king h7. It's a useful move, because... Now, white probably doesn't want to go f5 yet because of queen g5. So most likely... And he cannot play rook f3, right? Because that rook is hanging. So clearly white's next move is this one. And then you go over there, and now white can play f5. I really don't know why, like this is equality, That's just the computer shows this. But to me, I don't know, looking from black's point of view. Oh, you mean like instead of taking the pawn? Yeah, here king h7, I don't think would make any difference. Yeah, right, well, okay, king h7 here. Okay, I understand, because if you go f5, then probably this is inconvenient. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how to... On this, you walk into that shot. It's just queen g6 that makes it awkward. The threat of bishop takes g7 on this bishop. So I see the point, right? You play this, and okay, on this you can take the pawn and go back to g5. You'll be fine. It seems like king h7 is good enough a try. I mean, on rook f3, obviously this is the key answer. Well, I wanted to checkmate, but the bishop controls h3, so forget it. Yeah, here, you know, Gary, I don't like to move rook d8, but it was probably, I don't know, maybe f6 was the only move. I looked at this, it seemed like reasonable try to develop, but instead of rook d8. But there was almost a forced line. White goes there, white trades. White plays this, and now, no, it's all about queen g5, right? I mean, what else? But now white has this. He actually wins the pawn with the famous windmill, right? That's the pawn he's gonna take. Then he's gonna do this again. He's gonna do this. And he's going to take. Well, maybe under better circumstances, black could continue here. But actually, the rook on h5 is quite good. The threat is rook e6. And you oppose like this, and then white's got a powerful move f6, and the rook is just right where it needs to be. With the pawn on f6, white is winning. Yeah. So bishop e6 wasn't so good. Well, to me, the move rook d8, well, I don't know. I didn't see how this move was supposed to improve. So Magnus goes forward, and of course he goes f5. At least the bishop come to f8. Okay, this was the idea. Now, well, I appreciate that. Pretty good move. Well, no, not only stopping f6, obviously, but the pin was also there. But working against the move rook g1 with your counterattack against f5. Now, the problem is that it's already the kind of position where black is sort of hanging by a thread. He can find some moves like this idea, rook d8, rook d5, and it may help him to survive for a few moves, but eventually white will find some. Despite his pawn deficit, his position was very strong. He looked at the white's bishops there. Yeah, move 18, yeah, I agree. You're right. You're right, Alessandro, yeah. But here we put the rook on d5, but rook f3, so what white does with this, well, he is bringing the rook to g1, but the other rook. So the f5 is guarded. No, b5. No, right, maybe if black gets another move to play b4, then maybe, but rook g1. Rook a7. Next move is remarkable, but no, this is the argument in favor of playing f6 much earlier, which was mentioned against instead of rook d8 after king h1. It's a typical attacking method of pinning down that f7 pawn and preventing black from establishing some defensive communication on the 7th, kind of lateral defense. Pretty neat move. g6. Okay, one line was suggested is this, but then there is d4. Now, if queen moves away, then the bishop could come to e5. I mean, black is trying to bail out by means of the exchange sacrifice, but at some moment white can take it. But in this situation, he has time to double up. And even do this. Now this is going to be mate. Mate on G7, there's no checks. Taken on G1, no, but white will have enough mating firepower even if one rook is lost. Bishop takes f5. No, that's desperate. I mean, we're talking what? Down a piece here? Well, this cannot be good. Rook's under attack. Again, it's mate. No. You're attacking the wrong bishop. You really need to take the bishop on f6. But anyway, so there's a bunch of lines that basically already... But you see so many variations where a white wins without much effort, right? Without finding that only way to win. You can probably assume that white is just winning. I mean, after all, you know, he only gave a pawn to reach this position. But surprisingly, and Carlsen talked about this, that he couldn't quite find the killing shot in this situation. I mean, he was looking at d4, but after rook takes d4, obviously doesn't want to accept the sacrifice. Oh, f6 was on move 19. Yeah, that's what I mentioned. Yeah, rook d8 is probably decisive mistake. Yeah, maybe after f6 there is still some play. But in this situation, Carlsen became a little nervous because no, he saw this one. That looks super pretty, right? Goodness, there is this, and if takes, you take that one with check. White will emerge, I suppose, a whole rook ahead. Okay, maybe a piece ahead only by taking that bishop, giving up on g1, but he's a piece ahead and still 3 pawns on the board. He will win. But it's not the line that I believe Carlsen was most worried about, not bishop takes h3. But rook takes c4. Takes, pawn takes. Now, well, black's 2 pawns up, so white better find the exact winning variation here. And it's not that obvious, because no, you're still not really threatening anything yet. No, okay, rook takes g6, but it can be defended against. Now you bring the rook to the f file. After this, that you have to. And now they do check. And yeah, anyway, white wins in the end. His attack is just irresistible. But this is the kind of line that, you know, anybody would get little nervous about. Well, what if you miss something and then, well, you may let the opponent off the hook. I'm sure if Carlsen saw this all the way through, he would go for it. Or alternatively, if he didn't have any other good options, he would probably work harder on this line until he saw that it's actually very good for him. But this was not the case, so he felt that he didn't have to go d4. So he played this. No, okay, so that allowed Giri to continue to resist. Finally, he was able to sack the exchange. But I'm sure Carlsen didn't have a worry in the world about this position. No, yeah, black doesn't even have a pawn for the exchange. And, white's reasonably active, so just a casual look, that shows that white should be able to win. Yeah, it's useful to push that pawn forward, so black cannot play bishop f6 and slow it down. This shows that Gary didn't really believe that he had a chance of saving this. Yeah, I think it's winning. It's just not the computer winning in the sense that computers can give you some long variations and 20 moves, but I mean the player with the white pieces is not bothered by that. Well, the difference between this position and the line that we saw after this capture on g6 is that over there, like black can have one miracle move that can somehow defend against everything, and then white cannot win. Here, there are no miracles. I mean, white is just has a material advantage. Yeah, it may take longer technical work, but Carlsen was never mind, the kind of stuff. Never minded it. He can do this. He's not afraid of technical work, and he did this. Didn't even bother to take on b4. Now this is a good move. Well, very nicely dominating the black bishop over there, and now this. No, Anish resigned because he saw this. No, you're not gonna play. It trades everything down, and it's rook versus bishop, and another extra pawn for white too. Was rook takes f6 forced? I mean, it's probably not. Okay, let's get back to this. But it's like black, he never really had like a defensive plan, kind of plan. Well, he was just trying to, as I said, looking for miracle moves. Okay, what to do? White just wants to take on g6. I mean, are there any alternatives? No, clearly g5 leads to mate, rook g5. I don't really see anything, but rook takes f6. The problem with black's position was it's not like he had a solid position and because of some kind of miracle variation, white was always winning here and there. No, white's position simply looked overwhelming. That's what makes this game particularly strange on part of Gary. He simply handled Carlsen an overwhelming position based on the assumption that Carlsen would not sacrifice a pawn. No, well, this is 2019 now. Alright, to the Karyakin game. Now, when this game was played, it was round 8, and there was still intrigue in the tournament because Sergei Karyakin, who had up to this point his best tournament in years, possibly his best tournament since he lost to Magnus. I don't recall any good results from Karyakin in 2017 or 2018. Sergei lost a bunch of rating points and 2750. Number 4 in Russia. He's supposed to be this number 1 because, well, he was... See, Russians, they like to have their leader. In the past, it was simple. It would be world champion, but Karpov or Kasparov or Botvinnik before that. Now, they don't have a world champion. But they kind of appointed Karyakin as the world championship challenger, and he played on board 1. The recently concluded World Team Championship where Russians won, But as Karyakin himself said, they rather won despite his performance. He said, if I lost every game, well, we would still win the tournament. He calculated all the points. Giri lost on time. Okay. Didn't matter. Now, but Sergey had a good tournament. He's comfortable over there. They always invite him because, well, he was friends with Vugar Gashimov, and he got this invite in this tournament ahead of Yan Nepomniachtchi, which, Nepomniachtchi had 20 rating points on Karyakin and seemingly was the hotter player, but no, it's up to the organizers who to invite. And so they figured 2 Russians is enough. So Nepo kind of had no tournament despite having the best rating of his career. But we'll talk about Nepo and his prospects later on, maybe not today. So Karyakin is having a good tournament. He won a great game against Anand, very patient play in the end game. His win over Giri was also very nice, and nice counter-attack. So, okay. Well, a lot of people anticipated a good battle over there. And Karyakin goes for this. Now, about knight d5. First of all, the move knight d5 was always there. One event where that move resurfaced was a long time ago, in the early 1990s. In the candidates match, I think that was part of the... Was it FIDE? Well, anyway, they had this FIDE and PCA. It went parallel, and some players played in both. Kramnik, and I think that was FIDE thing, yeah. And so the first match he played with Leonid Yudasin, formerly of my hometown of Leningrad, St. Petersburg, and then by way of Israel, settling in New York and Brooklyn. Yeah, so Yudasin played this move knight d5, and he played a few games, and Kramnik held his own and more due to his superior tactical ability. I would say, if you look a little deeper at those games, that it seemed like Yudasin was getting a little something. And Caruana's research and his preparation for the World Championship match come across this knight d5 as a possibility. Fabiano struggled a little bit against Sveshnikov, like, pretty much every e4 player. So they were attracted by positive computer evaluations. However, it wasn't entirely clear how to play the resulting positions, and this is where Magnus Carlsen, this is where he says, well, yeah, people keep on playing it against me, and I'm happy. Well, they take more chances. Sergey had to take chances because I was half point ahead of him with only 2 rounds to go. And that's good for me when they take chances. Okay. Agree. Magnus said a long time ago, even after the Caruana match, or maybe even during it, that the resulting positions, well, they may be better for white or easier to play for black. Black's play is often directed against the white king, but when white is a kind of a crossroads, choosing between different plans, and so far nobody was able to play it right. Caruana was making mistakes, and so did Karyakin. Now, Carlsen keeps alternating both possible moves, knight b8 and knight e7, keeping his opponents guessing. So goes for this, and now bishop f5, yeah. No, he played queen b8. To me, I don't see any principal difference. But when he played queen b8 against Caruana, then the bishop stayed out of the way of the f-pawn, and then the f-pawn eventually went to f5. So there is queen b8. But no, right, so well, cannot take a draw, right? No, half point behind. And plays this move, which was played by Kramnik. But h5, Carlsen, one important thing that Carlsen established in his analysis of this, that black always should play h5. In the stem game between Kramnik and, what's this guy's name, a Serbian young player, Radovanovic, Kramnik got to play h4, h5, and then in the sharp game he won. Yeah, well, kind of a King's Indian of sorts, but you know, there is some inconvenience there. So, but white actually has to play incredibly precise, and I myself don't know exactly what they need to do. Looking at this position. Okay. First question, is the white queen belongs on the queen side? On the one hand, the queen puts some pressure against d6 and pawn on b7. On the other hand, that queen is far away and it's not helping the defense. Now, second question, h4, h5, who's going to benefit from this? While black often loses the h5 pawn, white almost never loses the h4 pawn. But the very fact that the pawn is on e5 speaks in black's favor, because any kind of action on the king side should probably favor black. Caruana once tried to castle long, or maybe even in 2 games, and neither one worked out very, very good for him. I don't believe that white should castle long. But what to play? Yeah, I looked at this, which didn't happen in the game. Now, white's idea is to play bishop d3 and prevent black from putting the pawn on f5. I don't think he succeeds with this. In this position, black should just play that. Taken on the 7, knight takes. Don't really see anything great for white here. I could try knight e4. But the pawn on c4 is hanging, so well, that inconclusive at best. Trends in GM chess. No, well, I don't know. Well, why knight c3, e5? No, well, I don't know. What's so special about this line? So it was played. There were a bunch of games, but I mean, why should white duck the Sveshnikov? Now, to me, it's a matter of principle. White should play open Sicilians. I'm all for the Salima and the Moscow and whatever, or that thing with knight c3. It has its practical uses, but pardon me, we shouldn't close the book on open Sicilian. Well, I want white to play d4 on move 3, regardless. Well, I don't know. I don't have much to say. I have limited experience with this knight c3, e5. I played it with black a couple of times. Yeah, there are some variations that you need to know. True. But I'm more interested in this. Okay, bishop e2. Now, so Karyakin just simply doesn't believe that black would sacrifice the pawn on h5. He expected knight b8. No, well, look, that's why Carlsen, it's good that Carlsen can play both, you know, it's knight e7 and knight b8, but he'd done it in the past. Now, I would say that this knight bishop e2, it just seemed that the position of the knight on g6 is awkward. And while yeah, there was this kid Van Forest, right, and Y. He also took this pawn on h5, and Carlsen crushed him. But in this situation, okay, now coming to most important point, all these moves are reasonable. Now you don't trade. Keeping this knight on g6 awkward, and everything's nice to this point. And now Carlsen plays his move, e4. Well, he had to play it. Now, one thing I don't like is this check, because I think black is happy to do this stuff, and now supported with f5. If the knight comes to e5, which it probably will, then black gets a good game. This is no remedy against this, because now black controls the dark squares, c5 and b4, pardon me, and white cannot advance his pawn majority. This actually looks pretty strong formation for the attack. So there is already no remedy against this, so no, white shouldn't do this. Well, he could, instead of queen a4, he could try this, right? Return there, but Carlsen, of course, we know this, so they're gonna ignore this. Sacrifice. Taken on h5 now. No, well, since you can't let this knight come to d3, then you must take, and now do what? Play c5? No, if it works, it's great, but no, it might not work. Black has many possibilities here, many interesting moves. Not sure about b6, takes, rook b8, queen a5, takes. Yeah, you have two connected passers, but some problems with development. Black is about to rip it open with e3. I mean, I'm not sure which lines are best here, but I think castles was reasonable. Now, indeed, Karyakin didn't show much confidence. He probably had to bluff and play a little faster. Even if he didn't expect it, I'm sure it shouldn't take him that long, to find the moves he played. Sometimes you have to bluff. But he spent time and he made it clear for Carlsen that Sergei was on his own. It gave Magnus additional confidence to sack that pawn on h5. He probably would have done it anyway. And now this. So he prepares the move bishop g4 to develop his play on the white squares. This was played, obviously, white dreams of that trade. And then, what seemed very logical move, c5. But I think at this moment already, Karyakin, that was the combination of the time he spent and also certain fatigue, because he looked at a lot of random positions without really knowing which one would occur on the board, while Carlsen just simply went along with his program that I figured out a long time ago. There was a big difference between the two. So the move c5, I don't think it was well calculated, that's to begin with. And while it's a reasonable attempt to kind of bail out because you're attacking the pawn on e4, that's what it is, a bailout attempt. White cannot be better in any of the resulting positions. Now, principled continuation was to play queen d1. Now you stop this move, bishop g4, that was the main threat. And if the opponent takes, we're gonna have to give up more than one pawn, 2. Now, by playing this, white retains some hope of making black pay for parting with the h-pawn. This is what white wants. To do this, and if knight c4, then he begins to pile up his pieces on the king's side. He's down a pawn now, but who cares? The bishop is great on d4, you got rook c1 coming up. And no, you're attacking the pawn on e4. Actually, white stands best he ever stood in this game. Possibly this is the best position white got in all these games that people played against Carlsen, aside of one game where Caruana had a great opening. Yeah, computers recommend this. It's not defense. No, queen d1 is not a defensive move. It's just, well, it defends against bishop g4, but as a concept, it's anything but defense. How is this a defense? Yeah, I traded the c4 pawn for the h pawn. Let's put it this way. Taking b2, I don't know, it's dangerous. Now, this is the thing where you make Magnus think. Is this good for me? No, well, if he simply accepts that, but anybody can see that white stands better. His bishop is dominating the bishop on e7. And, I mean, I don't care about bishop takes d5. I think white can do things here. How do we start? Rook e1, I suppose. How you gonna do? How you going to defend? This, okay, so I have this combination with I have this combination with rook takes e7 and queen g5. I also can do it the other way around. Maybe I missed bishop h3, that's what bothers me, or queen h3. Maybe this is better. But I still think after this, white has pretty decent game. I'm gonna double up on this bishop on e7 is tremendously awkward. Extra pawn or not, there's nothing defensive about queen d1. Now, you recommend queen e2 to queen h5. Now, this is also very interesting. Actually, I missed that. Oops. Oopsie, oopsie. Queen e6, I get to go over there, and like it or not, you're gonna have to play f5. Now, I mean, clearly white has tons of compensation. I don't know, this is the kind of thing that would make Magnus think twice. Now, it may seem illogical, but I always felt that white needs to bring the queen back. If he's playing, if this is a battle on the king's side, if you play h4 and provoke h5, then white has to meet this challenge, heads on. Needs to bring the queen from that area before a4. And even with some delay here and move 24, we do this, queen d1. This position is unclear. Now, right, maybe white should try for more in his analysis the next time. Maybe it wasn't perfect what he did. But for a practical game, it was good enough. But, well, you have to believe in yourself. Seemed like Karyakin, like all others in this tournament, the fear of Carlsen, they sense it. And it manifests in a different way. Some people play like Giri, so they try to keep the bravado going, like queen takes e3. I'm not afraid of Carlsen. Some people, like Grishuk, they seemed a little like doomed in their last round game. And with Karyakin, no, uncharacteristically long time spent in the opening. He had to play with, show a little better confidence, you know. Maybe that would make a difference. Now, this wasn't played. Sergei played c5, which in itself may be not a mistake, but then there is this. There are some unpleasant things there because of the weak king, right? You do this, you even win a whole rook, and then you probably resign. Is that knight g4? Something like this. Yeah. No. No, look, everybody finds a way, like with Kasparov. Every player would find their own way to lose to Garry Kasparov. I mean, Carlsen somehow, it didn't seem like he had it in the past 2 or 3 years, but in this tournament, no, it all came back. Now, is it going to be like this? Well, from now on, I don't know. One thing is that why can't Z and Gashimov Memorial? Carlsen was winning those tournaments in the years past, too. Maybe not with such a convincing display, but he was getting the job done. It was more of a problem for him to sustain it. What were tournaments he would win the second half of the year? Practically nothing. Couldn't win his Norway chess. No. Grenke, no. Caruana took it last year. Aronian took Norway chess then, and Caruana took Norway chess. Until Magnus wins Norway chess, I cannot tell that Magnus is back, as they say, dominating on his way to 2900. Let's just be patient. Okay. So I went back knight c3. Yeah, this control over the d3 square and the useless white pawn on d5, that extra pawn, begins to remind me of that, was it game 16 or some game number something of the second Karpov-Kasparov match that came from the gambit out of the e6, knight c6 line, and then knight b5, and then the white knight is on a3, and Kasparov broke with d5. Which actually had a refutation, but then he had a great game, pushing Karpov's pieces aside, sweeping them aside and landing with the knight on d3. That's very similar. I would say panic time. You do this. I think black can sack that exchange on b6 easily. Yeah. Difficult. No, c5 didn't deliver, truth to tell. The move that probably Sergei played because he felt, okay, well, I spent too much time enough trying, you know, this is ridiculous, I'm getting behind on the clock, you know, let me bail out, and no, it's okay, I'll make a draw. No, it's nowhere near. Queen c2 instead of knight c3. Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, self-opinion, but no, indeed. It's hard to attack the knight on e4. Yeah, I think white is only worse after knight c3. No, and then it got worse. Oh boy, the knight on a4. Terribly strong build-up. Bishop e4 was very nice. So it just builds up. I don't know. I mean, I would just show you the rest of the moves, but I mean, I didn't see any salvation for white. There may be some other options were more stubborn defenses, but yeah, this is horrible. I mean, black doesn't even mind trades because it just highlights the bad position of the knight. Well, the simple threat is knight takes f4. So he played that, and then of course he couldn't contest the e-file. Pretty cool work there from Magnus. Why not get my pawn back? Besides, I'm gaining the e4 square. Invasion. I don't know if he lost on time, so people now lose on time against Carlsen. It's a sign of frustration. They cannot get a good game going. No, well, 2 great wins. Alright, guys, you probably saw the last game and the beat Grishuk, also pretty good game. So Magnus finishes with 3 straight wins. And once again, look at the rating gain. Back to 2860. He hasn't been that high, you know, for a long time. Now, I would like to speculate a little bit about what the future might bring. Obviously, we're just at the beginning of the new cycle, new candidate cycle. Well, we're talking about a candidates tournament, which is going to be played 1 year from now. Caruana is in it because he lost the world championship match. We're talking Dingley and probably, you know, getting there by rating, because now look at this. We have 28 points difference, and it's already been, 3 months. So January 1st, no, it's already 4 rating lists. We have Ding significant lead over others. You know, somebody has to overtake him by a lot of points to get all the 12 ratings for the year 2019 taken into account, and yet finish ahead of Ding on average. So probably nobody can do this, particularly looking at how Mamedyarev and Giri dropped a lot of rating points. Vasheva Graf's success came in random games he played in the Bundesliga. So we don't know what kind of shape MVL is. Is he playing in the Grenka Classic? I'm not sure. I think he is playing. Would be nice to see him there. I mean, Anand. No, remarkable that Anand is still hanging in there. He, even at some moment, was at +1 in this tournament, but lost to Karyakin. Finished the tournament at 50%. I think Anand's secret in his success is just a lack of unhealthy ambition. He's not burning himself with a desire to get it now before he's too old. He doesn't have that restfulness of old age that, when it's not really old age, it's just middle age, midlife crisis. He never went through midlife crisis. He's too wise to do this. Yeah. We come into Nepomniachtchi first. Now, this is sort of a dark horse in this whole thing. You know? Well, now, first off, while I understand that Jan is not a spring chicken anymore, it's the same year as Magnus. Well, but in chess, only very few people can play year in and year out, for a long time, 25 years or so, like Anand, and maintain their level. Most of players, even the real good ones, they have like good 15 years. You might say that Jan, who in some ways threw away his best years, whatever they may be, by playing video games and not really focusing on chess, but maybe he saved a little bit of mental energy that is, the supply of which is exhaustible. And now he never really was like an elite player in the sense that he would go and travel together with the crowd from one tournament to another. He had one Grand Chess Tour, which is a different thing, of course, and he didn't do very well in it. But somehow he put it nicely together. It was at the end of 2017, and he almost won that. He tied actually with Caruana at the London Classic, and surprisingly beat Carlsen again, and Carlsen blundered. Now, the reason I talk so much about Nepomniachtchi, because of all these people in this list, he's the only one with good score against Carlsen. Granted, it would have changed if they played each other all the time. It still may change. But the fact remains. Now, somebody mentioned, well, Jan worked as a helper to Carlsen and many camps, and that's another thing. Like, isn't that what Kramnik did, helping Kasparov in 95 at the Anand match, and that maybe helped not to develop that fear of Carlsen in this case. Maybe Jan just knows him too well to really fear him. So it's not even about all other things. Obviously, there are some chess skills, unique skills of Nepomniachtchi. He plays very fast and he can play very sharp positions. And maybe stylistically, Carlsen is little rattled playing Nepo, because Nepo is just so comfortable in really complex positions. But the fact remains, like, he's a dark horse. Would get crushed in a match? Yeah, no, it's easy to say. No, when it happens, it happens. The Wood is, I don't know. Anand killer. Where is Anand's killer instinct? How do you describe Anand's killer instinct? Okay, Carlsen, I understand. He plays this little football, soccer matches, and he pushes people like, I don't know. He plays basketball. Grishuk said he kept elbowing me in the balls, and I mean, I don't know. And even at this tournament, Carlsen said, "Oh, I apologize. Maybe I played a little rough, in that soccer match. But well, I am what I am. I mean, I always want to win, no matter what." Okay, Carlsen has the killer instinct. They even look at him, He looks like a beast. Where is Anand's killer instinct? He's a great player, but killer instinct in Anand? Where does it come from? I mean, it's great to have it, but no, not every great player necessarily had this killer instinct. I don't recall it ever being attributed to, say, Capablanca. Yet Capablanca was one of the greatest world champions in terms of domination and all that. I mean, nothing against Anand, but I wouldn't necessarily say that Anand is even relevant in comparison to this generation of players. Anand has done a great job in his career, but nobody should measure up to Anand now. Anand now is an old man who basically enjoys himself in these tournaments. Caruana and Ding, who knows who would qualify? That's entirely unclear. This Grand Swiss and, it is hard to tell. Now, here we talk about, obviously, there's Nakamura and maybe Wesley So can make a comeback. Even Aronian, considering there are so many options, Levon's still a great player. Maybe he will strike in one of those. I mean, we could have anybody. The question was about Artemiev. But how does Artemiev? Now, Artemiev, unfortunately, because of the antiquated system of invitations to this Grand Prix, which is a series of knockout tournaments, Artemiev doesn't make it there. Duda barely made it there, because 3 or 4 people turned it down. Artemiev was never even in the mix. Now, Artemiev will play, however, in the World Cup, of course, and in this Grand Swiss. No, long odds in both cases. You have to make it to the finals in the knockout tournament, or finish first in this, known as the Isle of Man, now Grand Swiss. However, if anybody can do this, Artemiev can do this. The guy has just been remarkable. Now, it's probably good for Vladislav that he's taken some time off. There is really no time for him now to go for money and play this rapid and blitz. I know he can do it very well. The time will come for that, for Grand Chess Tour. He will be invited over there. Well, I'm sure that his universal rating now already is great. But now he needs to focus on his openings, particularly with black, and prepare himself for this. Well, when people say it's not his cycle, okay, it wasn't Karpov's cycle. How old was Karpov? Yeah, Karpov was just 1 year older than Artemiev now, right? When he was saying, no, it's not my cycle, not my cycle. And then he beat Pologaevsky, Spassky, and eventually Korchnoi. And then Fischer didn't show up, so you can never tell. One thing for sure, Carlson will show up. Yeah. Okay, so we looked enough at all this. Now, what are we gonna do? I'm honestly kind of tempted, to wrap this show up, because we've seen all the interesting games, and I think we talked about the most important subjects. I would field a few questions if you have it. Yeah, Carlson world champion for next 2 years. Yeah, I don't know. I basically, I think that these guys, as I said, Nepo is a wild card, dark horse. I don't know. Well, it is hard to tell. Well, we haven't even seen Nepomniachtchi yet, who's taken a chess tournament seriously. With the real team of helpers, with preparation, we don't know. Nobody knows. He doesn't know himself what he's capable of. One thing, that speaks against Nepomniachtchi, he's already not such a youngster that he could neglect his physical conditioning. Obviously, next to not only Carlsen, next to Karyakin, Nepo is kind of soft physically. Well, can Nepo hit the gym and improve his physical conditioning? It's absolutely necessary. Well, I doubt it. Well, that would be probably too much to ask. But who knows, if he doesn't. Now, if not Nepo, sorry to say, none of these guys stand a chance. Okay, Caruana can make a comeback. Caruana, fine, Caruana is still there. And none of these other guys, I don't believe in Ding or Giri or Mamedyarov or all these guys. They are not threat to Magnus Carlsen, not in a sense of taking away his crown. Do I have a good story about Alexander Wojtkiewicz? I have many, but he was a friend of mine. I'm not just a guy, who once or a few times was in a bar getting drunk with Wojtkiewicz. We were very close friends for decades. So whatever I know about him, I'll keep to myself, if you don't mind. Well, Nepo has the drive. Yeah, well, but who knows? Well, I don't know. I don't know, really. People change, This Nepo is in this age, when people suddenly begin to grow up, right? I mean, maybe he can look at things differently. Well, there could be some, I don't know, could be some changes in his personal life. I don't know, I'm just speculating. I'm saying that the book on Nepo is not closed because Nepo did not spend the last 5 years getting his ass kicked by Magnus Carlsen. That's the only thing that makes him different from all others. Now, well, it's entirely possible that we need to wait for Artemiev and Duda and for these guys, if not for Firuzia and Yesipenko. Now, Firuzia and Yesipenko, that would be kind of extreme. That would mean that Carlsen would retain his world championship title for a considerable period of time, yeah. Because these guys, they probably, I don't know, at least 6 years away. Artemiev and Duda, they're closer, but I don't know. What stories about Igor? I don't know. You think Igor was great? I don't know. I mean, I'd known him for so many years, and but great in what sense, No, being I don't know. There is this guy, who can take a few drinks and then sit down and play piano. He was self-taught piano player, by the way. Never studied music anywhere. Had some talent, I assume. Would start singing, but I mean, I don't know. There was always something sad about Igor, and I know his life circumstances. He grew up in an orphanage, and I mean, I don't know. I don't really want to say all this, repeat all the stories you probably heard. I have probably some that you haven't heard, but I mean, I don't know. It's just no time and place really to talk about dead people. Same thing as Wojtkiewicz. Although I was never really friends with Igor. Maybe the 10 years difference in age, 11 or whatever it was. We were never friends, but I knew him quite well, but different story. Escaped the USSR, no, yeah. Oh boy. Escaping the USSR. Friendly, was Igor friendly? Yeah, I suppose. You know, skip stories about dead people now. I mean, they have this guy Sasonka, right? So he made a career about writing about dead people. I mean, the reason is, you know, you start making up stuff about people still living, they may contradict you, you know, and then call you up on some of this. The dead people, they can't. That's a nice business, you know, to sit down and write books about dead people. Yeah. Abandoning his family, Igor. It's hard to tell what his family really was, you know. There were two women, you know, at the same time claimed that they were married to Igor, but I don't think Igor ever had any children. As far as his family in a larger sense, as I said, he grew up in an orphanage. He was always all by himself. I mean, I don't know. It's sad, you know. I really don't want to talk about it. Guys, let's call it off. You know, now there is another reason why I want to cut it a little shorter today, because tomorrow I'm leaving while traveling to Europe. Well, I'm part of the US senior team. Well, we go into the US, to the World Senior Team Championship in the Greek island of Rhodos. Well, we will try to defend our title. We won last year in Dresden. The competition is much tougher now. There are many strong teams thanks to publicity that we made. Funny thing is that the previous 5 editions of World Senior Team Championship were hardly ever publicized. It took the appearance of the US team to and our win to make it a story. And now stronger teams, no, some teams, you know, more strong teams from Israel, Armenia, Iceland, and some others. That's going to be interesting competition. Oh, Igor had a child. Maybe. I'm not even sure about that. Anyway, I may be wrong, you know. I don't know. As I said, I didn't know him that well. So anyway, so the trip begins for me tomorrow with some stopover in Vienna, Austria, just to get adjusted to the European time zone, and then Shabalov and I will continue to Rhodos, and we'll start playing, I believe, Monday. Well, so I don't know if you wish me luck, you know, I'm actually a reserve player on the team. I probably will get to play some games, but no, I'm hardly the key player on the US team. We'll do well, I hope. Alright, guys, when I come back, we will meet again, but that's gonna be, I believe, on the 29th, if not the 30th. So, okay, you'll check the announcements on that. We'll be talking about the Grenka Classic that will be over by then. We'll see if Carlsen can continue his streak. And also, maybe I bring good news from Rhodos, Greece, another World Championship title. At any rate, enjoy your month of April wherever you are. And I'll talk to you in a few weeks. Goodbye.